Welcome! I am the Kaiju no Kami, and tonight's review is going to be the greatest Super Sentai series ever released, thanks to Shout Factory, Gosei Sentai Dairanger. What? Huh? Dairanger? No, there is no such series called Dairanger. It's a Dairanger. See, right here is proof. What is with this guy? Can you believe this? Huh? Welcome, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and in honor of Shout Factory's DVD release of Gosei Sentai Dairanger, tonight's review is Dairanger. What do you have to say about that, Byako Shinken? Exactly. The 90s were an experimental year for Sentai. The franchise's lead writer, Hirohisa Soda, left after 5 men. In came Noboru Sugimura, who helmed the successful Zyuranger, and as such, he stayed on for its follow-up series, Dairanger. Dairanger was based on Chinese mythology, and as such, it went through a few different ideas and series titles. Before I begin, for those who do not know what Dairanger's significance is to Power Rangers, well, Dairanger is where the mechs came from, the Thunderzords, the monsters that Zed created, and also the White Ranger. All those were used and mixed with the Zyuranger suits that were turned into American footage. As such, here is Dairanger.
Now, Shinron, come forth!
The plot of Dairanger is pretty simple. 6,000 years ago, the Gorma tribe started a war against the Dai tribe to take over the world. Today, that war resumes as Gorma has reawakened while the descendants of the Dai tribe are given special equipment in order to fight the modern menace with the help of their master, Kaku. They are...
Zyuranger! Tengense Daigo! Tenma Ranger! Tenjuse Shosh! Green Ranger! Tenjuse Cut! Four Ranger! Tenpunse King! Gosei Sentai Dairanger!
The Gorma tribe is an empire of citizens with a triumvirate of generals on the front lines that battle the Dairangers. They are the sadistic Shaddam, the treacherous Gara, and the hot-headed goofball Zydos. Other major villains from the Empire appear throughout the series, including Shaddam's son, Akomaru. Also, like every monarchy, it has its own figurehead and an emperor named Gorma 15, played by Bioman's Minoru Koda. The first arc of the series is similar to the opening bits of Zyuranger, where most of the Rangers meet each other, have to learn to work together, and acquire their arsenal. They even have to earn their mechs, known as the mythical Key Beasts, and it's not until the 8th episode of the series where they finally form as combined samurai-like mode Daireno. They battle the Gorma trio, some wacky villains like monsters in hockey masks, the island of misfit toys, and a wicked choir. As mentioned previously, Dairanger's themes are derived from Chinese mythology, which is what each Ranger's motif and key beast are based on. Zyuranger is based on the Dragon of the East, while Zyuranger is on the Phoenix of the South. Later on in the series, Zyuranger is introduced, whose animal is the White Tiger of the West. Interestingly enough, the Japanese initially confused the White Tiger with a Kirin, which is what the Yellow Ranger is based on. Furthermore, Westerners saw the Kirin as a unicorn, thus giving birth to Tenma Ranger. Shishi Ranger's motif is grounded on the guardian lion in Chinese mythology. However, there's also one final guardian in Chinese mythology, which is the Turtle of the North. No ranger held this theme, but instead this was the form the final mythical key beast took on, who served as more of an auxiliary mech a la King Brachion in Zyuranger. Lastly, both Ryu Seo and Wan Tiger have their own robot warrior modes that really help separate them from the rest of the crowd, as the additional beasts act more like armor rather than limbs. One of the strongest elements to Dairanger is in its subplots, as every character is given one. The first major subplot introduced deals with Daigo and a reincarnated version of the Peacock Buddha named Kujaku. Her story is a tragic one, going back thousands of years when her and Gaara were much younger. Gaara was injured and her hatred turned her heart dark and trapped Kujaku in the body of Master Mirror makeup.
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Daigo frees her and Kujaku goes on a quest of vengeance and then towards redemption. This is the longest running subplot of the series and is easily one of the best. Not to mention it really helps develop Daigo's character, who ends up being the most fleshed out of the Rangers.
6000年前には自分の美しさと可愛さにうぬぼれるのは女だけしかいなかったもの。はい、男は。Oh no, he didn't.
The next subplot to kick off is one dealing with three buffoons known as the Three Stooges. Their first episode starts off with them attacking Rio, but then they become an enemy centered on Choji for their second and third episodes. Each episode has the Rangers playing some sort of sporting event against them. The first one deals with soccer, the next is baseball, and finally there is a motorcycle obstacle course. Rin's subplot coincides with the sixth Ranger, a boy named Ko. Ko's mother disappeared and he has been on a quest to find her ever since. This plot actually starts off in a two-parter when Rin's so-called grandfather brings a sword called the White Tiger Sword to Japan and seals it into a stone that only the 6th Ranger can remove. While the notion of a soon-to-be 10-year-old child being a ranger can be off-putting, it is actually done quite cleverly here. Ko is written and acts like a child, yet the writers do not pull any punches away from him for being a child. Ko goes through a lot of crap as the series progresses, and there are just as many happy moments as there are tragic ones. Nevertheless, Rin and Ko end up forming a bond that ties their stories together as Rin goes from hating Ko to more seen as a motherly figure for him. And like Dragon Ranger, Kiba Ranger only shows up for a selected number of episodes and then will disappear, making his appearance on screen all the more sweeter. Sadly, Kazu is given a weak subplot, and his is the final one to start as he deals with a turtle enthusiast named Kameo. Kameo is actually the human form of the great turtle key beast Daimugen, and he is played by two different actors. Sugasaku Imagawa played him for the first few appearances, but then Jetman's Tomohisa Naruze took over the role for the remainder of the series. Anyway, the relationship between Kameo and Kazu develops, but it is underutilized compared to the plots that Daigo and Rin have been dealt. This is a shame though, as Kazu is a really fun character and one of the best Yellow Rangers to ever grace Sentai. It also helps that his fighting style is the most unique amongst the Rangers, as he uses the Drunken Master style. This is the first and only time this fighting style is actually a mainstay of a Sentai character, as it tends to only be used in one episode from other series. Finally, there is Ryo and his subplot dealing with a martial artist turned hitman turned Gorma named Jin. Ryo is easily one of the greatest Red Rangers of all time, as he goes through a lot in this series. He had to bring his dad's heart back to the side of the Dai tribe in order to access the ability to combine the key beasts into Dairano. Next, he has to go through various trials and tribulations just to be able to defeat Jin in a fight, which nearly costs him his life at every encounter. This little arc flows throughout the second half of the series, and it is developed quite nicely as we see how both characters complement one another so that it can lead to Ryo's final battle with Shaddam. Not to mention, Jin is played by the amazing Yutaka Hirose, who has played the likes of Lee Wanda in Flashman, Dr. Kenpu in Liveman, and Tronzon in Jetman. Surprisingly, Dairanger really only has 6 filler episodes, all of which are entertaining to watch. This show also features the lowest number of monsters of the week, which is an oddity for Sentai, and yet they are a fun lot. In addition, they have some of the best monster designs out there. My favorites include Lipstick Songstress, Birdcage Vagabond, Key Jester, Tofu Hermit, and Magnet Priest. Even the grunts, the Cop Patrol, look interesting, and there are several different types shown throughout. Another notable aspect is in its fights, as the Rangers battle just as much out of costume as they do transformed. In fact, for the first time ever in Sentai history, there was an episode that featured no in-suit action with an incredible roll call from the Ranger cast.
Zyuranger! Zyuranger! Tenma Ranger! Green Ranger!
Not every episode has to have a mech battle, and sometimes 3 episodes could pass by before there is another one, adding even more unpredictability to the show in a franchise that is known to be formulaic. Even the final battle at the end features a fight without Ryo being in costume. Add to it the fact that there is some truly magnificent fight choreography with an excellent amount of production value. The scenes done in the orange sunset are so gorgeous to watch, as they are few and far in between so they do not become redundant. There is a perfect balance between comedy and drama to be found here. One minute the Rangers may be involved in a bike chase with Gorma foot soldiers. And by bikes, I mean bicycles.
Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride it where I like.
While the next, they may be fighting tooth and nail for survival from 4 evil priests. Things take a turn for the worse, as just when the presidential debate between the Gorma and Dai tribes seem to be scraping towards the bottom of the barrel, a third party enters the fray.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away.
A 500-meter robot dragon god known as Dai Jinryu emerges on the scene to cause wanton havoc and destruction until the war between the Dairangers and Gorma comes to an end. Dai Jinryu first destroys a city, and when that fails after a false truce, he returns to hypnotize the people of Japan to jump to their doom.
これはカクさん大変だって大人竜が人間に催眠術をかけみんなを殺そうとしてるんだって何ああやってみんなを並べといて大人竜があと一声かければみんな落ちて死んでます
The threat of Daijin Ryu is just another perilous journey that the Rangers must go through in order to save the Earth. Like most Sentai series, however, the acting is hit or miss. The series does not have a Child of the Week plot like Zyuranger did, but when it does feature children, they usually come out slightly more competent than those of the past. The worst acting comes from Ko's mother, who is known by no other name, which is strange given that she is played by Jetman's Mikiko Miki.
やっこ神経さえあればあの子の居場所もわかります。なんとかあれを
That aside, the majority of the actors do a great job with their roles, especially the Ranger cast and Shadam. Even Hisashi Sakai pulls off Ko quite well for being 12 at the time. We previously saw him as the young Barai in Zyuranger. This show features quite a bit of actors who would go out to play other Toku roles or have been in other roles prior to Dairanger. Ryu's actor, Keiichi Wada, will go on to play Demon Knight Jiku in the Go-Go 5 movie, along with the man that was originally going to become Kamen Rider Ryuki before Shinji.
Ugh, I'm bad at this.
Tatsuya Nomi, Daigo, will appear as one of Shurikenger's identities in Hurricaneger. The actor behind Kazu, Keisuke Tsuchiya, has a twin brother named Daisuke. They would team up in Kaku Ranger as Tsuruhime's guardians Tauru and Jiro. He would also go on to play Shadow Beat and Bee Fighter, while Daisuke would play Blue Beat. Gaara's actress, Akiko Nakano, played opposite to Hirase in Live Man as Dr. Mazenda, and she was also in All Ranger. Master Kaku, Koji Naka, would go on to play Hanagata in Kamen Rider 5s. The actor who plays the human form of Magna Priest would also play the Kappa in Kaku Ranger and Professor Hinoji in O Ranger. Key Jester's actor played Tatapat in Zyuranger. The robes the Gorma Emperor wore would go on to be used by Saban for Master Org in Power Rangers Wild Force. Dairanger's narrator is also the narrator for Shinkenger.
人類の攻防をかけた戦いは今始まった。隙間の向こう、サンズの川から下道衆がやってくる。
Oh, and the voice of Kabuki Boy sounds awfully familiar, but I can't place my finger on it.
また混乱に落とし入れるのだ。相手が人間では大レンジャーも手が出せレンジャー。ウェイウェイ。サブリット、プリズム、ガソリン、漂流艇。地球の海は俺の海。宇宙の海も俺の海。海の勇者。
The music to the series is also outstanding. The series kicks off with the phenomenally catchy theme song by New Jack Takeru. And continues on with its score from Eiji Kawamura. My favorite theme has to be the one that coincides with Jin, and then is used again for a few other monsters later on, including my favorite episode of the series, The Demon with the Golden Kick. There is just so much fun involved in this episode as the main villain, Birdcage Vagabond, is very unique, for he was exiled from the Gorma tribe for getting drunk and losing his leg.
俺はとっくにゴーマの怪人じゃないからな。生意気な。酔いどれがこの俺様に勝てると思ってるのか。そうか。やめろやめろ。足を持ってくることかな。アディオスアミーゴ。
It isn't the most plot-driven episode, which is why it is a standalone one, but that is what makes it so good.
俺は6000年分の間ずっと我慢してたんだ。必ず最強の戦士に戻ってやる。
Other favorites include Drunk on Tofu and a bad guy. In the long run though, it is hard to really just choose one ultimate favorite episode because there are so many good ones. Nevertheless, my least favorite episode is Three Stooges Soccer. Most of it has to do with me not being a sports fan, but as a whole, this episode is just dumb and feels out of place as it is more comedy than drama. When you take into account the entire Three Stooges subplot though, it fits. Regardless, everything until this point has been balanced. So having one that is all-out comedy disrupts the atmosphere the series initially presents. Finally, from a technical perspective, Shout Factory has outdone themselves once again. The audio and video are directly ripped from the Japanese DVDs Toei released back in 2009, so if you weren't happy with the quality of those DVDs, there's nothing that will change your mind here. The subtitles are accurate, although there are a few minor nitpicks I have with them which are all based on personal preference. I'm used to seeing Kirin spelled out as K-I-R-I-N, whereas Shout spells it as Q-I-L-I-N. It's still correct, just not the choice I would have gone with. Other than that, the only other issue deals with the Byakko Shinken. The subtitles call the weapon the White Tiger Sword, but they kept his name Byakko whenever he is called by it. It's a little inconsistent, but again, nothing horrifying. I didn't notice any spelling errors this time around and the grammar was done well. Unfortunately, Shout was unable to acquire the rights to the movie. On one hand, it is a shame there are no bonus features included. On the other, no one is missing much with the movie. In all honesty, that's not surprising Shout was unable to acquire the Dairanger movie, as Toei puts it under the movie series rather than the individual series, because even in Japan, you have to buy this box set or there was a DVD set of movies that had the Dairanger movie on there in order to get it as opposed to their DVDs of the series. The plot is basic as Duke of Cards turns children into cards to play a game. Of course, the Rangers duel him. Duke of Cards also uses his powers to resurrect the first 4 monsters from the show, and they combine to form a new one. This is also the only time in the entire series where you will see Dairano using his staff. Yet it is pretty harmless and fun. If you can find a way to see it, go ahead. If not, nothing of value is lost. I have been waiting years for this to finally happen. I have bought this series on multiple occasions, official and unofficial, and now to finally get an official release in the US with subtitles is amazing. This is truly a fantastic series, and I consider it to be the greatest Sentai series ever made, as nothing has been able to come close to my enjoyment factor as I get with this. If you have not seen it, you must go out now and buy it. If you have seen it, and even if it was a series you weren't all that thrilled with, buying this will help get more Sentai series in the US. As Shout Factory has said if it sells well, they will do the next series, which most likely will be Zyuranger. I give Gosei Sentai Dairanger a 5 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. What do you have to say about it, Byako? Okay, cool. Glad we agree. Until next time, bye.